The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
The aftermath of every social revolution brings about change. Cultural norms and landmarks shift as our minds and hearts expand beyond the familiar. To everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose in the land of the living. This is our time to renew, revive, and restore the hope lost to the busyness of life. This is our time to dig again and rebuild from the storms of our past on a solid footing that holds. Welcome to The Foundation.
The Foundation.
The Foundation is brought to you by Alive, Ancient Chinese Secrets, Bonneville Bones, Burger King, Carrie's Fabric and Uniform Store, Ceslin Pediatrics, Commonwealth Bank, Epic Battery, Grand Bahama News, Marco's Pizza, Printmaster, and Ron's Electric Motors.
The Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company, The Foundation, here live in full effect on this beautiful, beautiful day. You guys know I told you I took some time off just to be able to do a few things to ensure that we did that, but I wanted to leave you with some sobering thoughts. I wanted to leave you with a sort of an idea of a path that we want to take. Before we do that, I got to shout out my good, decent people over at AFS Insurance Agents and Brokers. They get everything laid out for you. Make sure you go and check them out down there at number 407 Blue Hill Road South. They get everything if you're in the market and you're looking for insurance. They got bulk insurance available for you. And they can be able to take very, very good care of you. The numbers you can call, 341-1-AFS, 341-1-AFS. Make sure you pick up your Guardian newspaper. All the information's in the paper today. And so you can be able to find out all those stuff. Now, what's in the paper? I don't know. But let's just kind of cross our fingers. We're hoping that it's good and decent stuff. We're diving into it and diving into a conversation that I promise you, a conversation about sobriety, a conversation that will lead us to what I believe will be true growth and development. I kind of coined this. We started to talk about this sometime last week in sort of a prelude as I gave you some insight of what the expectations were or would be as we move into this kind of a space. And I said to you that it would be Stay Sober Bahamas, an independent initiative realigning a nation disenchanted with traditional politics. And I think a lot of us find ourselves in this kind of a position where we're disenchanted, where we're indifferent, where we're distant, where we're trying to be able to sit in a space of neutrality. And so I didn't want to have this conversation by myself. I couldn't dare. There has been, from 1964 to now, a tremendous amount of persons who've actually stepped into this space, that stepped into this space of independence and advocacy from a social standpoint, and who wanted to make a significant difference. They got great notoriety from a public standpoint, but not necessarily getting the proverbial cigar. So they've done well, but not necessarily getting the victory that they envisioned. And I wanted to talk to you about that. SOBER is an acronym that I've kind of laid out. The SOBER is about strength, opportunity, balance, empowerment, and renewal. This is what we desire. This, as a people, is what we desire to move towards and being able to capture. Over the next few days, we're going to be talking about leadership. We're going to be talking about visionary leadership, sustainable growth, balancing traditional and innovations, empowering through knowledge, and most definitely national renewal. Today, I want to be able to introduce you to some guests. You probably never heard them on this show the way that we had, but I made a tremendous amount of invites, and I'm grateful that they were able to sit here with me today. I want to introduce you to none other than servant leader Ali McIntosh and Kareem Hanschel, who's here all the way from Garden Hills as an independent candidate. Say good afternoon to the people out there. Ali, how you doing today?
Good afternoon.
And I will be decent. Should I call you Ali? Should I call you Minister Ali? Talk to me. How do we do this? Let me be decent, right?
You're being decent as
Praise
it
God.
is. My
Praise
name
God.
is McIntosh, servant leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party. I am an ordained minister of the gospel. I don't mind them calling me elder. That's a big name. So
Elder. I like this.
when you're an elder, that means you know a little of almost everything, right? So when you say elder, that's the go-to for wisdom, discretion. So you're in place.
I like that. I like that. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Let persons know who you are. For those persons who've been distant, not necessarily hearing up and seeing what you've been doing lately, let them know who you are.
Of course, as I said earlier, I'm the servant leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party, 25 years of political advocacy for not only constitutional rights and strengths and the rule of law, but also that we bring good governance to the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Also, I'm the author of a new book, but at least within the last 2 years, How to Reconstruct a Nation, Righteous Principles for National Leadership and Governance. And obviously, it speaks to renewal, revival, and reconstruction of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas based on some of the things that you were saying and indicated in your new program, Strength, Sober, being sober. That is what it is. It's about bringing that kind of narrative to the Bahamian public, to the acts of political advocacy and also governance that is good, that is sober, and is able to make changes in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
I'm excited about that. I want to find out more about that, and you really should come on the show separately to talk about your book. Okay. All right, let's see if you can find an opportunity to do that. But I want to introduce you to someone also who you've heard of. You've seen him in these particular spaces. He's often called the show. Maybe you are familiar with his voice, not necessarily being able to put a name to that. Always profound in his approach to be able to talk about these things with sobriety. Always talks about the small man and an opportunity for them to find their space. Been advocating for now, I think, over 2 election cycles, maybe if not, maybe more, in Garden Hills about the change that needs to be able to happen there. I want to introduce you to none other than Kareem Hanchel. Say good afternoon, my brother.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. How are you? This is Kareem Hanchel, independent candidate for Garden Hills, and I am excited.
I'm excited to be able to have you here with us also. Let them know who you are. Let them know how long you've been advocating for independence, and let them know what you've been doing down there in
Very good. My political career, I'm sure I should say, started in 2017 when I decided that I think that, at the point I realized that, change had to happen. And I realized that there were some things that I saw that needed to change, that it appears that I had to be in the one to make that happen. And so I decided to take the leap of faith, me and my wife and my daughter who supports me. And my first challenge was in Golden Isles as an independent. It wasn't
it wasn't always
No,
good.
it was in Garden Hills because
okay.
the reason why I went into Golden Isles.
Yes,
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, because
I was living in Golden Isles.
I know.
Okay, go ahead.
See, because Halkilis was the MP for Golden Isles
Yes.
at the time, and
Yes,
I was
this was
a
in
consultant.
17.
16.
In 16,
for that
yes,
10 year,
yes, yes, yes.
012 to 016, he was the MP for Golden Isles, and so outside that, I was a consultant for the government, independent, working on SMETA, the first component. But then at the same time, we had the push for VAT. And so my opinions differed from their opinions. And then what really drove me to become in politics was when I went to see him. And the conversation we had, I don't want to disclose the conversation, but that was really when I recognized, and I think, because it's like a facade. What we see on the outside,
And this propelled you to independent representation?
Right, because I recognized then we didn't need to separate who we help. If we say we help in Bahamian.
So that's what you saw?
That's what was happening, yeah. If you wasn't PLP, you don't get help. If you ain't FNM, you don't get help if they government in power. So someone like me who just want to come from school with qualifications to then put my name forward to assist in nation building is being ridiculed or being denied assistance because I don't want to say I say FNM or PLP. So what happens to everybody else?
It's heavy. I like this. And I think that this is the course that we're going to take. Now, I think that that's one of the first questions that I'd like to put out to both of you. Ali, I'd like you to be able to jump on this. I know we got to be able to go to a break, but before we do that, please give me an opportunity to dive into this. There has been a rhythm in this country that a lot of persons have been content and reluctant to acknowledge sometimes, but they understand that it exists. And a lot of people do their best to allow it to coexist. The idea of traditional politics, the idea that, just like you said, Hanjo, that if you're in the FNM or you're in the PLP, is there no alignment with these traditional political organizations, then you find yourselves out in the proverbial court. Really agitated a lot of persons to shift the system. You know, a lot of persons kind of scream at the wall, but there are 1-2 people that beat on the wall. I identify you independents and all those persons who decided to step up and be able to challenge the system, challenge the machine, as those persons who decided to beat against the wall. Ali, I'd like to know from you, over the 25 years of your commitment in book form and this kind of a posture of a servant leader, relentlessly on the radio and always being able to give voice to a lot of the issues that we've had in the country, where did this come from over 2, maybe 3 decades ago inside of you that says, I got to do something with what I have to be able to be the change that I envision? Talk to me about it.
Howard, Kareem is so correct in that I lived an environment where we're doing for young people. We really can't decide who we're going to help. We're just going to help everyone. And I grew up in a home that worked charity. My mother took in everybody. When it comes to some child needing to eat, some woman needing a resting place, there were people who
Which constituency was this?
We lived in Angleton.
In Angleton.
In Angleton. So she took in everybody who needed to eat, who needed to sleep. So going into the public space, obviously there was no reason to discriminate regarding helping. However, by the time as I get into youth work and come to politics, even before I get to politics, I realized we were having an issue with if you do not identify as PLP or FNM, you are putting yourself in a space where you are not going to be helped. I do believe that the majority of the population is in that space because when the PLP come to power, they help only basically PLPs. There is a rhetoric and narrative that runs about what we are doing to helping, but when you step forward for help, this is when we decide whether you're PLP and FNM, whether we are going to help you. And that has happened on both sides of the fence. So people like me, of course, for the last 25 years, I'm standing on the outside quite like Kareem Hanschel in terms of, are we going to help her? Are we going to help him? Because they do not identify as PLP and FNM.
And the independence has a different view, concept, idea to the approach of community assistance. Independence looks at everyone from a nationalistic perspective and saying, we have a responsibility to help our brothers and sisters, as opposed to being able to perpetuate an idea for party. Is that the overarching concept that leads persons to choosing to move in this direction?
Yeah, because you have to think about us being all Bahamians and all needing help. And so when we get to the point, and that's why independents and people who stand out, they always continue to stand out because they realize that if we don't help all Bahamians, plenty of those persons are going to be going to fall through the cracks. And when they fall through the cracks, we're going to have a society that needs a greater need of help. So it must be, and that's the overarching feeling of those who are nationalists and independents.
I like that. Well, I want to take this commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. When we get back, Kareem, I'd like to be able to hear from you. You gave us some insight, some push towards why you made this decision at the forefront. You gave us some insight as to why you've done these particular things based upon your proximity. But that could not be. Maybe this existed only for 2016, but there seems to be a fuel that propels you to continue to do these particular things, right? After now, like I said, two election cycles that you've been able to go through these things. You sort of the inside of these things. I'm sure that you got a few calls. I'm sure these things have happened. But tell me, and when we get back, I'd like to be able to hear from you, why you've made this decision to retain this position and to push the way that you're pushing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to none other than The Foundation with Howard Grant. Let me take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
The Foundation will be back right after this.
The foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation.
Marco's is the talk of the town this summer. We've got an irresistible deal for you and your family. Purchase 2 medium, 1 topping pizzas, a delicious Pizzoli, and cool down with a free 2-liter soda. All for just $27.50. Visit your nearest Marco's location or order online at marcospizzabahamas.com and get yours today. After all, what's the summer without Marco's Pizza?
Looking for great device deals and offers this summer? Look no further. Alive has special discounts on the latest smartphones, Ring devices, and accessories. Plus, as an Alive customer, you can expect exclusive Get Extra offers and rewards, which means even more value for your money. We're talking more data, prizes, and surprises. Upgrade with us and experience the perfect summer with Alive in store or at bealive.com/deal.
Carrie's Fabric and Uniform Store wants to get you ready for back to school.
They have ready-made uniforms and uniform fabrics for almost every school in the Bahamas.
At Carrie's, find skirts, blouses, shirts, jumpers, boy shorts and long pants, neckties, socks, and more.
You can even have your uniform skirts custom made.
Check out our selection of embroidered cotton shirts.
That's Carrie's Fabric and Uniform Store on Mackey Street.
Call us at 393-0758 or 817-0758.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Foundation. Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, the foundation. Beautiful day. Grateful to be in your company any day above ground and committing ourselves to a greater purpose and a greater service of community growth and development through faith, I think is a beautiful day. So I'm grateful to be here in your company. I'm here with none other than Elder S. Ali McIntosh, who served 25 years in this particular capacity. We're talking independence, and we're here with none other than Kareem Hanchel, who's been serving now from 2016, and really being able to push the way that he has. Kareem, when we left off, we wanted to be able to ask you a question. Now, we spoke to Ali and had a very good conversation. I want to know from you. Because this isn't easy. I know about this. I did this. You know I did this with the DNA. This ain't no easy thing.
No.
Nobody's give you money for this.
No.
There's no place that you can go that they say, yeah, put this in your pocket. You're doing well, boy. Right? Nobody can say, well, I know you pay for these food, these people eat these things. Right. Yeah, let me put this in your pocket. Keep your light on. Right. Nobody does that in our society. But you keep pushing. Right. You got your wife. You got your children. Your daughter being able to support you in these particular instances. You get your education. You get a course of things that you've done that you would have gone through. You get options. You had significant relationships that you could just revive. Just a casual conversation. You can revive these things. These things ain't difficult. It's politics. You understand? But you chose to be able to hold steadfast to this position and push forward with this independence. Why? Talk to me.
I think it comes from my perspective. See, we all have a choice. Now, let's talk about what the core is all about and what matters. The matters is my belief in God. That's the key. Now, that means then, for that decision, I have to now do something. So if I see evil, I hear evil, I have a duty. Okay. So now, from that eyes...
Now, this is, that one just for the purposes of the listening audience, this is what you perceive as evil. Because there are a lot of people who's sitting in this and they're quite content.
Right. So
talk to me, Ali. I always talk about being true.
So according to the word, because we ain't gonna move from what they give us to study and to understand good and evil and to determine what side we can take and what we're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So in understanding that, I recognize that as a young man, I'm married, I have children, so that's the present. So who do I represent? I represent that particular group of people. Okay, that's one. Then I stand as a representation for persons who don't want to look at particular side and do well, but then have persons who I love over here too and are doing bad. Mm-hmm. Because I intelligent, ain't like I can't get a good opportunity with a party. But I looked at, do I want to see myself doing better than the next person? Because that was always against my code. I never gone to a party. I used to throw parties back in the day. So I never went out with none of my friends or family and never made sure they had money in their pocket. Because I never want to be the one that they look into for something and then they can't really advance in their game. So, gents, that's your money. You get your 200, you get your 200, you get your 200, you get your 200. You only need to come to me. Yeah, you only need to come. That's when things was in the personal note and everything seemed to be fine, because I understand when I came back from school, the opportunity was there. And so when I look at that, I took that and I look at how politics would play in the society, and how when I was trying to get involved, they would always say, well, if you're going to be down with a party, then you need to then leave. So it ain't like people didn't
This
tell
is
me
what
leave.
came to you.
Yeah, people tell me leave from when I used to run with the PLP in 012, 013. Big in South Beach. But then the decision came to a cross when I say, hey, here's what I gave to the MP. Because I was the man of the hour. And you talk about South Beach when when PLP first came to power, and you come around South Beach, and you boys, you can see it's handshell because we ran the school. The principals know me well when I ride with the MP. I setting up events and functions. But here's the problem. We need economic growth. We need our own economy as a constituency. So, okay, MP, we get some money. It ain't enough to build a dream, but let's empower the people who could then build a dream. So that community center could be reality, but it never became, right? Because the dream too big than what you really could do in your options. So you already got chains on you. You only get 100,000 then. So let's develop the people. Let's get entrepreneur going. Let's get more business going. Let's get more people online. I came back from school. I studied in computers, so I know how to put people online. I went to Simon. I say, listen, the shift. Employment could be obsolete.
It's Simon Wilson now.
There's a conversation me and him having in Scotiabank, the Prime Minister's office in Scotiabank.
So he remember you.
Because the commercial came online. He knows me. That's my G. Listen, I
just get you his language. Remembered you, I hired you. Right?
I can never say nothing bad about Simon other than sometimes we make poor decisions at the time if we ain't listening to God. So now we have to live with the decisions we make because we don't see the reality, those who have eyes to see. So we now try to warn the nation, say, hey, don't make that decision because that can create this result. But so unfortunate, they made the decision, and this results we're living with. They complaining about what? High energy costs. They complaining about VAT. They complaining about all these taxes.
So you believe that your agitation things with clarity and clairvoyance and sort of this connection, this faithful connection, you believe that you're doing the right thing, that God has called you to align yourself in this particular position and being able to speak truth to power. This is the propulsion that you have in this kind of a space.
Because, listen, Harold, my grandmother died in 1993, but godmother. That tell me something. She died poor. Why? That's what I asked myself. She ran all this money. She's a PLP. She ran the thing. She died in 1993. So she's an old school PLP. Her children today still PLP. That's one side of the coin. So maybe she's doing well or whatever. I don't know. My grandmother I grew up with.
There's been a rhythm that exists in this country for
hold
decades.
On, my grandmother 93, this one who live in. She 93. She's F&M. Yeah, they say. So F&M probably been good to her children. All my uncles them is F&M. They big time, except for my other uncle who was PLP. But he in power now because he people in
I feel
power.
like it's a default in this country where you have to choose a side. Not necessarily that you can do good if you choose one side over another. You just have to choose a
But
side.
remember now, it was for a reason. Always remember the side choice was a season, and it was to bring us together. It was never for us to divide us. When the PLP came in existence, it was to bring disenfranchised black people together to become empowered, to make sure all black people could benefit too. Because right then and there on each side, black people benefited working for the white man. My grandma worked for the white man. So there's UBP, TLP, F&M come to power. That's Roy Solomon them. So I grew up brown. So my life was different. I didn't grow up poor. I grew up didn't rich, but I had rich friends, and so I didn't really. My old lady didn't wake hard, so I really didn't know what.
You thought you was rich.
That's what I
so
feel
you're giving
good.
everybody $200.
Oh, okay.
Calm down, sir.
But I am. But see, well, money is all about the fact that wages of sin is dead, but the gift of God is eternal life. So what is the gift of God? What is the wage? We know wages is. That's job. So from then I know the job in what God gave me. So I decided to my talent.
I like this, man. I like this kind of a conversation that you have, and I think that we go in, once we push past the surface of how people, because a lot of people in our society would be able to say that as they look at other independent candidates. Or this one just like to talk. He just want to be seen. This one like to be able to. I think a lot of the approach is very superficial. And that this ain't the easy thing to be able to identify.
But if I only focus on the bad, meaning you make a decision, the family turn against you. You can't understand. Mommy say get out, Grammy say, uncle say get out, in-laws say get out, brothers say get out. You going in the church, God bless you, get an apartment. Landlord say get out, go in another apartment.
This is your story,
Landlord say
Hancho.
get out. Listen, brother.
This is your story,
BNB for 2 months, finally find an apartment because you had to clean it. Then a year later, the landlord ain't paying the light bill, gotta get out. Got a BNB for another 3 months looking for an apartment because now it is what it is. Hey, let me rent or own the car. No man.
But you
operate.
still chose.
Because tomorrow is real. See, understanding. An example matters. So why Jesus came? If he didn't came, I wouldn't have exist. So he came so Hansel could learn something and could follow something. So my strength don't come from what outside of me. My strength comes from the stories and from what in me. And so when I gotta feel a way and I have an obstacle, I gotta pray. You see?
I want to touch this. I want to touch this, Ali, with you, because you have ascended beyond your commitment in faith to a form. Over the years, we've watched you being able to take this climb and being ordained in this kind of a space. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about, because we've actually seen a lot of leaders in formal politics, with our very good friend Vaughn Miller, who was an independent for maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, right? Right? Vaughn is my good friend, right? He's my good friend, right? So he has moved from formal organization to independence and back to formal organization and has climbed, and he's a pastor. We've seen a tremendous, over the past decade, a tremendous amount of pastors. In the last by-election, we saw a pastor being able to take on this kind of a position. Now, I don't know whether or not political parties are being able to identify people and kind of pull them in for the purposes of being able to give the good look that these are men and women of faith, these are men and women of good character, and you should be able to listen to them and pull them in. But I want to know whether or not independent leadership step into independence and seek leadership if this is as a result of conviction. I want to talk about conviction. I want to talk about whether or not you're propelled. Hancho gave us a great deal of insight. He said, tomorrow is real. I want to talk about whether or not are you tethered to your faith? Are you affixed to your convictions? Are you steadfast in your commitment to say that this got to be the right thing? If not, I'm willing to die on this hill. Talk to me about that and why you've remained committed over the years.
I do appreciate that question because it's a very valid question. I want to thank Hanschel in his speech. You know, I told you he's my political son.
Yes.
I'm sure I have a few more of them, and I am excited as I listen to the fact that there are young men and young women who have a determination to not allow evil to be perpetrated any longer. Because you ask what we think, that question. But the conviction of our heart makes us determine what is evil or what we will not tolerate as common day. Because we've gotten to the point in the nation where we call good evil and evil good. We've gotten to a point in the world where people have now reclassified good as evil and evil as good. People have told me many times of decades in the political arena, go sit down, girl. You don't know what you're going to do. But I came here because of a mandate, and my mandate continues to propel me to do the will of God concerning the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's how I look at it. I don't look at it as just I'm going into politics. But what is it that God wants for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as to why Ali McIntosh still stands after 25 years? It is because in 1998, if I go back to the story, the original story, I was going about my own business, doing my own thing, but in a place like Hanschel was in terms of why certain things is not happening in the nation. I mean, obviously, we were already seeing the existence of the two-sided coin when this is not even supposed to be two-sided. Really, a triangle is three sides. Somebody has smashed one of the sides and make it two sides so that we only see two sides of the same coin. But in a triangle, we have a wider way in which to affect the community. And that's why we stand, because they are trying to squeeze out that third side, which is supposed to exist. And that where good exists and where we are not choosing the better of two evils, there is the...
This is obviously the base of the triangle. If I'm listening to your analogy, there's three sides to the triangle. One side we see the FNM, the other side we see the PLP. If that independent voice, if that kind of an independent aspect should exist, it has to be able to be brought up from the bottom. Talk to me about that.
See, what happens, it is actually the foundation.
That's heavy.
The third part of this triangle is the foundation. See, let me tell you what happens when people get a hold of power. They lose perspective of what is good. And people tell you, we got to go with the best of two evils. So forget about the foundation. Let's leave the foundation off and let's go with the better of two evils, the lesser of two evils. Mm-hmm. But the foundation stands strong, because nobody can stand in any place if they are not mandated, if they are not strong. And that's why young people keep coming back. And I'm so happy that I'm seeing young people being renewed. When I was 32 and 33 years old, I started this conversation. Politicians used to call me little girl. But I continue because the mandate I was given in 1998 is that, and this was a vision I had, and the Lord began to speak to me over the term. It was like 3, 4, 5 months when he sent me to Washington, Bahamas Constitution Party. So he gave me that name. I didn't make that up. And he asked for Christian men and women to make themselves available to serve. And he sent me to Sir Lyndon to exact from him the original intent of the preamble of the Constitution. This preamble of the Constitution sets in place the foundation of what the Commonwealth of the Bahamas should be about. But those two sides have forgotten the core values that built the mission of the Bahamas. And that is the reason why we have a situation where they are really trying to forget the foundation and just go with the other two sides of this triangle. But it is very important, and the mandate speaks to that preamble of the Constitution. A lot of people don't know it, but I am glad that it is now being pushed forward. Even when Zedden has put the national anthem, they put the preamble of the Constitution. That is the basis, a mission of what we should be about, the core values of self-discipline. We've forgotten what that means, right? So Lyndon said, if we forget self-discipline, we negate the whole shebang, for lack of a better word. But we look at self-discipline, we look at industry, loyalty, unity, and an abiding respect for Christian values and the rule of law. If we forget those values, and my contention is that the political directorate in the nation over the last 30 to 40 years, more like 30, in the last 30 to 40 the Constitution. Because Sir Lyndon said to me 10 weeks before he died, I interviewed him, he said, do not give up this fight. That which the founders intended with the preamble of the Constitution is to cause the government or the leadership of the nation to look at the core values and say, this is how we should govern, not necessarily picking the better of two evils.
As I listen to you, I realize that a lot of what we've said in this time, and I can get into something and then we can get into the depth of this conversation. A lot of what we've stood for, a lot of what we understood, a lot of the proverbial pillars that existed in our society, not just our society, the societies globally, have been shifted and commandeered by those with an agenda. I just want to be decent as I say this. It has been captured, commandeered, taken, and modified for the purposes of whatever this agenda is. And a great deal of us are just going along with the get along, not necessarily understanding that the value that we held is being corrupted by the ideas that we loosen one thing to capture another. Now, I say that to say because people will tell you right now that in the Constitution about the fact that we are a Christian nation or Christian values, they amplify that. They amplify this concept and idea to say that, well, this is only, the values and concept, not necessarily that we as a Christian nation, we're not a Christian nation, seeking to move away from faith, to be able to content their position in this sort of an idea that I got to be able to pursue more pleasure, I got to be able to pursue more things. Their ego has taken over. And that's what we're seeing translated in politics today.
But
We're seeing this same concept translated in politics today. And when we get back, I want to be able to talk to you more about that. I want to be able to touch this when we get back because we got to be able to dive deeper into these kind of a conversation. When we get back, I want to talk more about these things, more about your vision for where we could be able to see the country. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to be able to stay tuned with us. We're diving here with none other than S. Ali McIntosh, all the way from the Bahamas Constitution Party, and Kareem Hanshaw as we continue over Bahamas and this independent week. All right, quick commercial break. Be right back after this.
The Foundation will be back right after this.
The foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Bonneville Bones, established in 1970, is the leader in men's fashion in the Bahamas. We're conveniently located in the mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza, and fully stocked with everything you need for all occasions. Our Harbor Bay location is one door north of Alive, with the black and white signage of Bonneville Boutique. Both locations are open from 10 to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Bonneville Bones and Bonneville Boutique, still the leader in men's fashion. Located in the mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza.
Looking for a supplement which can be used daily without side effects? Give Ginseng Royal Jelly and Panax Ginseng Extract a try. They contain high active proteins and vitamins. It can prevent cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, significantly increase energy and stamina, restore libido, sharpen memory, balance endocrine system, and prevent cancer. Recognize the blue bottle as authenticity. For more information, call 557-1369. Ancient Chinese Secret.
Now let me see now. 326 EPIC. Hello? This Epic Eckert battery. This Miss Beulah from round the corner. I hear you're selling tires now on Wolf Road too.
Praise the Lord. It's about time. I live Fox Hill and Fire Trail. It's too far.
That ain't all. They open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sunday and holiday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My brother Sam, he's a hacker, and he could go right there and get fix up.
Call us at 326 EPIC. We ship also to the Family Island.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
Foundation. Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company. We just took a quick break and being able to dive back into these kind of conversations. I needed to do that with you. I'm grateful. I am truly grateful. And one of the things that you're going to get from us is introspection. This opportunity that we have here as we look at each other and dive deeper into this conversation about the why, the conviction, the concept, the idea, the vision that's going to unravel in a few seconds is a conversation that should take you in a position of being able to ask whether or not we are making the right decisions. And I can't fight you for your political views. I'm not out here to tell you that the PLP is the devil, the FNM is the devil. I am simply saying to you, the Word of God says to us that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And as we look around and we hear $100 billion investment coming here, 4 million people have, 4.6 million people have a record into the international airport coming in, right? Then we've seen 9.6 million people come to the Bahamas, a record, the record that we've hit off, a great pre-COVID record, so forth and so on. And we contrast that to the fact that we are not being able to leave anything to our children's children. We must ask the question. We must ask the question whether or not we're moving in wisdom. That's just what it is. This is a naive approach that we're taking to believe that a good contrast of the government being able to ensure that we're satisfied with $100 million project for an exchange of 100 jobs, that is bananas to me, right? This kind of a concept and idea to have this kind of a conversation that they're having, right? About being able to put $35 million or so into another slide. This is bananas to me.
$35 million?
For a slide, for a water park, for them to be able to do these things. I think if the question was, if the figure is correct, they're continuing to look for avenues to appease the superficial desires of people, but not being able to give them. And I'm not just talking about the PLP, I'm talking about governments. Yes. I'm talking about governments, because the state that Grand Bahama is in right now is a state that Grand Bahama existed in for a very long time. I had a call sometime last week. A person called in and started to talk about Grand Bahama as we were talking about these things. And Sparky would make indications. And he said, well, with people like you leaving Grand Bahama and other people coming in and Nassau, that's where the problem is. You all need to go back home. This is bananas that people would even have this kind of a concept. That as a Bahamian citizen, the only thing I want to do is not only survive, we have the responsibility of being able to thrive.
Right.
We're in this society where people come in from the South every day.
Every day.
And they surviving. Now, you can't put me on the same level. Not in the bad way.
Boy, listen.
These people are surviving.
That's offensive.
We have a responsibility to thrive. Our governments have not created the infrastructure for us to step with security into a space that we can thrive. The only security, which is the facade, is stepping in with an assured political party on your chest. Yes. They won't see you as a FNM or a PLP. You got to. This is a lot. And so I want to be able to talk to you about that. I want to be able to talk about these particular things. I like with, this kind of a course that we're taking. And I want to ask you all about vision. Because this can't be just about gum bussing. It's got to be about vision, a concept that structures. I want to talk to you about some of the ideas that you have that can be able to see a significant change in this country if we continue on this particular course. Ali, I want to start with you.
Okay, good. Again, I want to say that the way people handle vision for their community is basically based on their values and their core values. We began to talk about that. And my vision, based on what I have seen over the years, and I think Hans will begin to speak about that, is that everybody has to survive. I have a cliche when I say that everybody have to eat. Eating is the basic thing. We need to eat 3 meals a day. So which means you give somebody 1 meal, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing, because he need 2 more today. And so with everybody have to eat, the mentality has to be, the leaders have to have mentality. How do we empower everyone to eat? And that is important because, like Angel said, and I have to revert back to that, is that when you sitting at a meal, and I do this all the time, and I believe this is the concept of a lot of independent kind of thinking, is that you consider the meal and people are bringing out food and they're feeding people and there's a certain table nobody's going to, and you have to look around and say, so why they ain't eating? Right. We almost finished eating and no food has gone over there yet. Right. That concept has to continue into our life and everything we think about and what is happening in the nation. And I heard just a little while ago, probably earlier yesterday, where 4 million people came through the airport. And we have like 8-9 million come through the cruise ship. And why are taxi drivers still complaining?
This is what I was saying.
The
taxi drivers out there fighting.
Yeah, can't get work.
Think about it. They fighting. You got 4 million people.
Okay.
Walk through this airport. That means enough food
13 million. 13 million.
Everybody.
The small man should be able to eat twice. Because he only want 1 plate, right?
Yeah, at least.
Okay.
You can't even afford a livery. You still paying rent.
Okay.
To use the people livery. You thought if I did this X amount of time, I could find myself in a position where I could buy my own little SUV.
Yeah.
You mean 13 million coming here
This
in 1 year, and there are people that are still hungry? There are people, taxi drivers, who get 2 fares a day, and some of that, one would be 40 and one would be 20. You mean you didn't even get $100 a day? See, if it doesn't translate,
you better
something
pray
is
God that that's your
obviously
taxi.
wrong.
You better pray God that's not
because you have-
taxi.
you have to
If
give.
you got to pay rent to somebody to lease their plates or to lease their taxi, whatever you make, that got to go to that.
So some core value within the governance of the nation has been lost in order for that to be happening. You cannot tell me 13 million people came to the Bahamas in 2023. And there are people that are still hungry. There are people in Grand Bahama still sleeping in their cars. There are people whose light has been off for years. You cannot tell me it's trickling down. So obviously, there has to be the government, the leadership of the country that's supposed to provide opportunities for economic stability and sustainability in the country. Their values is wrong. And you know why I'll say that with this point, let Angel respond. When we have a situation where we have 1,000 children having to have breakfast, and we find that we have to cut the budget, and we have to cut it by 50%, whose 500 children are we going to not give breakfast to? Who can decide who that 500 children is? A visionary government is going to find a way to feed that 1,000 at the smaller budget, because we can't decide who the 500 children are not coming to for breakfast. So we have to govern with the perspective that everybody have to eat.
You know
How do we
something?
make that happen?
That's heavy what you're saying. A visionary government will create a space where participation with their hands is a desire to be able to taste what they've created. A visionary government will fortify agriculture. A visionary government will fortify a space where you could be able to bring animals. Oh, I don't want to kill the animal. Oh, yeah. We can eat this today. A visionary government will be able to have some chickens out there to ensure that we could create these spaces so the next generation will be able to inherit a very clear understanding. During the entire campaign time, the Prime Minister, every one of the young children, my grandparents were subsistence farmers. You know that. This is what the Prime Minister says. We've lost that element. Everybody wants to get into, and I think that this
Import,
is
export.
Conceptual economy.
I think that this is something that has been our conditioning and our psyche this has been introduced to us from the Union Jack fell and the Bahamian flag rose because the bedtime story shifted, right? The bedtime stories initially was about Moses and about freedom and about liberation and about this kind of an idea for growth and development and about the fact that if we hold on to our faith that God could change everything. Post 73, the conversation shifted and say, baby, you could be anything now. We could get into Savoy Plaza. You could be anything today. You could be a bank teller. And because that kind of a story shifted, we've lost our faith, we've lost our position, we've lost our fight, we've lost so much in this sort of tumultuous exchange. All this was just this transition, it was just turbulent. And we as a nation, in my view, humbly, after 51 years, we still haven't sort of leveled out the way that we want to. Now we're happy that we didn't fall out of the sky proverbially, like the plane that we saw the other day. We're happy that we're coasting. We're happy that we're going through trial and tribulation, but we know that we have the capability to be able to do better with what we have. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I see. So I always try to use my life experience as a lesson because, I don't like talk with people, and that's just what it is. So, small mouse, big city guy. What that means? That means I come from an island, young boy, 17, 18, going off to Michigan. And you Google the population in Michigan, you could talk about the amount of people 4 or 5 times the population size of the Bahamas. So you start to think dynamics and think big from where you're from. So you done coming from now, so you thinking 400,000 people is a lot of people. Then you go to a state, you would have the school, university would have like almost 20,000 people, right? With service in a city, would have a couple 100,000 people, and you have multiple cities with multiple universities doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're working for the university and you're getting this understanding so easy like this. So man, you trying to feed 1 million and you could go home and just feed 400,000? Then you look at your topography, your geography. You ain't in America where you was a concrete jungle, still there. You around the sea, island life, fresh air every day. Food on the tree, walk in the bush. You know, as a fence man, you know how much time I get full of a mango and coconut?
You had diarrhea after that?
No, man, I'm saying fruits.
Yeah.
Listen, passion fruit, I fall in love with passion fruit. My brother, we talking about natural food, right, growing wild, that you could fill your belly off.
That we don't take advantage of.
And we act as if we living in a concrete jungle, in a island, in a continent,
That's
in the
what
middle
happened.
of the
I
continent.
think that the coining of this city, the coining of Nassau as a city, has really messed with a lot of people's mind. We are an island nation. We are an island. We
Think
are
about
a
it.
small people.
Okay, draw a line. Think about it, Daddy. Draw a line from Nassau, New Providence to Grand Bahama line. Circle that. Draw a line from New Providence to Inagua. Right? Circle that. And you tell me I need all that fish out the water? You tell me I need all that fish out the water?
We ain't all yet.
You tell me that I done plant all the seeds and can't grow something controlled to feed 400,000 people when people feeding more than that in a concrete jungle in the center of a continent?
This is heavy.
This is very interesting what he's saying because
tell me your vision.
Because I too have been living in metropolis. You know, I've been up and down to Washington. And when we think about what we can do in a city, surrounded by all other little cities, which is bigger than the New Providence or bigger than the Bahamas population, we realize how can't we not handle this teeny little island nation?
I agree with you.
Because if these people are getting it done and we exist in these environments where we see how it only took vision and it took a desire not to be corrupt, it took the need for accountability, transparency as we look at visionary leader and how can we do something that resonate, we have to consider that we must rebuild. That's why we talk about the reconstruction of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We must rebuild even the psyche of the people in the country. There's a lot of people who've never traveled, so they've never been exposed to more. But the many of us who are independent, we have people who have traveled. He's a university graduate. Okay, I've been to Washington, I've been at American University, I've been many places, the United Nations, at least 4, 5, 6 times. I've been to the IDB conference, I've been a lot of places looking at how do we fix a nation. We having a problem with 200,000 people, 400,000 people. When people can bring a vision that can be fixed, the teeny little problems that we have, and we call it teeny, because when we look at the bigger picture, the global picture of what is happening, we can fix it here.
Ali, this is crazy. But you see, let me tell you what. Let me say this to you. It almost, in my view, as I continued, and sometimes I think a lot of us do our best not to think about it. But in my view, I believe it places us in this kind of a position that says, maybe they just don't want to fix this.
Exactly.
Maybe that this is organized confusion.
That's what it is.
Maybe this is by design.
Very good.
Maybe this is constructed to ensure that those that have
Continue.
will retain the having, and those that don't have, well, you ain't know what you're missing. You good right where you is. Jesus God. Guys, let me take this quick commercial break and be right back after news.
The Foundation will be back right after this.
The foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Foundation. Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, The Foundation. And the guys, you just come back from the news break. And being able to talk the way that we're talking, I am truly excited to have this conversation. When we left off, we started to talk about vision. We started to talk about this sort of an idea and a path. Not necessarily this entire week. Our desire is not to be able to chop down the FNM of the PLP. These are the examples that we want to be able to render onto your feet and for you to be able to deduce accordingly. This is not about being able to cut down one political organization or another, but amplify the concepts and ideas that exist here among those persons who have agitated in the outer courts. Can I say that? Let's be decent. We talked about the outer courts. We talked about the inner courts and the holies of holies. A lot of persons in the outer courts, like Mordecai, have said to you, we have the answer here. I just get preachy. You didn't know I just get preachy. I just get mad preachy. Talk to me. And those persons who are in the outer court got to scream at the officials and say, the answer is here. And only when politicians, then the scales fall from their eye, that we could be able to say, well, this was birthed for such a time as this. I just get preachy. I got to calm down, right? But let's start to talk about these things. When we left, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting here with none other than S. Ali McIntosh. She's Reverend and Elder, being able to see her in this particular position, all the way from the Bahamas Constitution Party, being able to talk about these things, giving us good history at the top of the hour. And I'm also sitting here with independent candidate. And you could be independent. You get again.
Yeah.
Oh, you get again. Independent candidate for Garden Hills. None other than Kareem Hanschel being able to talk to us about that. Now, Ali, when we left off, we started to talk about vision. We started to talk about this concept and idea that exists in this particular space and how we could move forward to make some things happen. I want you to be able to render and give us a vision, cast that vision for what the Bahamas Constitution Party has had and what existed in your belly for the past 25 years that can be done now and see some reform in this country. Talk to me about
I do believe that what has to happen, and if I may, that we are having a collaboration with Kareem Hanschel. In fact, the Bahamas Constitution Party is now the Bahamas Constitution Party Coalition Alliance. In that, other persons like Hanschel, Brother Hanschel, and other persons who have this fire in their belly can collaborate with us to get the work done. We're not trying to force them to be anything else than themselves. Hanschel is collaborating with the BCP. Yeah. We're working together. We believe it is necessary that people see what democracy is supposed to be about, which the three-sided plan for political involvement, that we don't move the independents out and throw them away as if they are not contributing anything. As we say, Mordecai saved the nation. And so we know as the independent work, we can get it done. The Bahamas Constitution Party has a platform called Blueprint for Governance, Mandate 2022. It is a 50-year plan for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. You can go to bcpparty.org and you will find not only platform issues, but Blueprint for Governance. It is a 92-page document that has been posted on our website since 2022. And it brings to bear the kind of vision that will cause your hair to stand up, because you're wondering, how could independent people bring vision? We have the vision. We've been screaming it. In fact, I do believe the PLP has been looking at this mandate 2022 to 2020. bcpparty.org.
BCP Party.
bcpparty.org. I want to thank Cornelius McKinney. This is a visionary young man who created this document. His vision for the country is powerful, and he has brought that to the Bahamas Constitution Party. He has helped us look at all of the innovative things that can be done. Quite like my son here, I can keep referring to him. He does bear my name too. But this visionary, I want to say that because I want people to go and look at it as they see what it is that can be done. When we look at the table of contents in this document, you look at almost anything you could possibly think of. We want a debt-free society. It could happen. We're only on an island with less than 400,000 people. How is it with the amount of natural resources that we have in the country that the people are still poor? Obviously, it's intentional that the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. Energy security is very important. Making this Bahamas a producer nation. I'm just looking at some of the contents in terms of what is the panacea for planning into the future, 50 years, not just every 5 years, and then we stop, review, and cancel and go to the next. But if politicians, and I'm telling you, if politicians consider beyond themselves and what their friends and their family is going to get out of every contract that goes across their desk, we will do something else. We're looking at global cash crops, which means we can produce. I had another fella, God rest his soul, him and his wife were my age for a little time. They were killed in Inagua by the plane that gone down. Not a plane that came down. And you remember a couple of years ago.
Was it the 9?
when the plane hit, because the people had to come out on the runway and put their trucks in order for the plane to come down in the night. And so they were killed because their truck was hit by that plane. And you could imagine how many years ago, 2013, that's been 11 years. And do we have lights on the runway in Anagua? Can planes still run? Can planes land in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in these southern islands?
At nighttime?
When we have solar technology and solar lights that can become the lights on the runway at the airport, and you telling me all of this time, and we have people governing who don't think that this is a priority?
Wow.
See, when we develop the islands, people will go back to the islands. And then I have another friend, God rest his soul, he died recently, James Edwards. He has given us also a plan where we can take these, we build communities in the islands in order for people to go back to the family islands, because you can't have 16, 17, 20 islands in which everybody continues to move out of them and come back to New Providence.
Who helped you create this?
This was created.
And how long did it take?
Cornelius McKinney is a visionary man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to be able to read a few of these things for you so you can be able to see. Make sure you check it out. bcparty.org. bcpparty.org. bcpparty.org. You can be able to find out all the information in here. You can just download it. And it's very quick as I'm looking right now. It gives you from an introduction, what makes a true leader, national identity, minimum wage, individual rights, focus on the family, freedom of information, the end of a dynastic politics, $12 trillion for the Bahamians. Man, this is tremendous. It goes into banking. It goes into foreign exchange, the national capital. This has a tremendous amount of things. One of the things that popped out to me, that you've even thought about
What we have been doing, we've had an education system that's one cap fit all. And so we've expected the children who are more technically based or even hands-on to be like those who are the academics. It's not going to happen because we would not be able to develop a country without plumbers and without electricians and without garbage men. We're not going to be able to develop a country if we don't have farmers.
But that's the issue that we're having now, Alex.
We can't just have accountants and lawyers and doctors.
Yeah, but that's what Grammy them told us.
Yeah,
that you could do whatever you want to do now and get the big, high-paying jobs and forget you don't have to sweep streets no more and clean shoes.
You don't have to farm.
You ain't got to do nothing. These children, that's been conditioned in them so much. It's almost like pulling teeth to tell them wash the dishes, wash your clothes, sweep the floor now. They don't do none of these things.
But that is the reason why.
But they could do one thing. This little baby hair thing here where they be slicking around the side of their head. My God, they got that together. They got that together. You know what I'm saying? We have not taught our children these particular elements of survivability in life. And when they go off to school, like you went off to school, like I went off to school, like I've traveled and done all these things, when they have an opportunity to do that, my son, who's in North Carolina right now, my son, he said, yeah, boy, daddy, I ain't gonna lie, boy. I love you very much. I love you a lot. I say, I love you too. What's going on with you? Right?
Talk to me.
You know, you teach me to do all these things, but I know some fellas can't do none of this in school.
Right.
I didn't tell him. I said I was in Cuba. Some of the finest gals in Cuba used to bring me their delicates. And I ain't lying to you. Because I used to wash my clothes on my hand. My grandmother taught me that.
Not even take care of you, you see. You valuable.
Okay, now watch me. Now, see, this is what I'm saying. When you start to teach these things, when you start to have a significant focus on these things, maybe we can enlighten a next generation to the responsibility of community. Because we have been drowned in lies that it's about political organizations and being able to perpetuate that and lift that up. We are drowning in the concept, trying to be able to keep our politics afloat and not concerning ourselves with our community. There needs to be more focus on how we could be able to rectify our generational property. There needs to be more focus on how we could be able to identify Crown land. There needs to be more focus on how we could be able to empower ourselves, because land is power. But we, the next generation, can only be renters in this country. That's what they setting up.
But unless, and this way goes back to why Hunter did it, Howard. Not wait till I'm 60, because I could do it and then forget about everybody in my bubble. And then I reach 60, 65, bored, and want to try to say, now I want to make change happen. No. you are at the age where you could see and you could take strength to make change happen. So do it. Because it ain't not going to change it. Because I didn't want me and my daughter having the same conversation, who now 19, and then when she reached 40, she looking at me like, Daddy, you don't even change nothing, bro.
Yeah, how do we tell the next generation we could not change it? And that is the problem.
We say it in the great, almost the timeless words of our former prime minister. It is what it is.
Which one? You mean Barry Christie?
That's what he said.
It is what it is.
That's what he said. It is what it is.
That's what it is. But could I tell you a little something? I wanted to tell you that when we came out at the end of the break or the end of the news, is that Sir Lyndon, I'm going back to the foundation because I realized without foundation, that's the name of your show,
That's
too.
the show, man.
That's why you are so substantive. You are so substantive.
Praise God,
you are
man.
standing on the foundation. So the foundation is this. When we started the Bahamas Constitution Party, the Lord really gave me the vision. I went to Sir Lyndon. One of the instruction was go to Sir Lyndon and exact from him the original intent of the preamble of the Constitution. Having spoken to Sir Lyndon over 2 years, from 1998 to 2000, finally 10 weeks before he died, I had an interview with him. Yeah, 10 weeks. 10 weeks. We talked, and one thing he said to me, he says, Ali, we as a party, the PLP, did not accomplish what we intended as a founding father.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, I know. But he's dying now. He got to say everything he got to say.
Wow.
Right? So, he's getting ready to just leave this earth. He says, I got to talk to you, because I was trying to talk to him for weeks. He says, we did not accomplish what it is that the founders intended. My party, he said, failed from doing what it is we really intended. Because when we think about Bahamianization, when we think about empowering the Bahamian people, we have to go to where they intended. They came from a matter of post-colonialism, where they said we got to bring the people up from where they are.
That was the intention.
That was the intention. The intent was to empower the Bahamian people. He said we did not empower the Bahamian people. He said the FNM, the next party, the next side of this slide, is taking the nation in a further liberal, secular stance. This was in 1998, 2000.
This is heavy what you're saying.
And so he said to me,
the FNM has been viewed as conservative for a while.
Conservative, they have got, listen here.
If you compare the PLP to the FNM today.
But now, both are the same cloth. They have become a microcosm of the same cloth.
Wow.
So we have two parties doing the same thing. Because you disenfranchise Ali McIntosh when the PLP is in. And you disenfranchise Ali McIntosh when the FNM is in. And see, when young people look at that, we have to corrupt young people, Young people aren't born corrupted. We corrupt them. And if we give them let them see through their childhood vision, they're going to see the purity of black and white hugging. We are friends. But when you say, boy, that boy is white, don't trust him. Or that boy is black, don't play with him. We are then begin to divide for them in their thinking. And that's why young people, we want a nation where we do not corrupt the young people. The Bahamas Constitution Party, like Sir Lyndon said to me, if you can find 10 people who will walk with you, keep walking.
Well,
keep talking.
The last time I heard that.
That's why I'm keep walking and keep talking.
Abraham had to make some more deductions. Oh, Lord, if I can't find 10, what about 9?
Yes.
8? Okay, what about 1?
Easy. No, but 10 is good.
10 is good.
If that's far as the leadership is in the BCP, we continue to stay at least 10. Because we have to continue to build a society that has to see the eyes of those things the founders intended. Lady Pindlin said, and it's in my book also, but she said it when we declared majority rule. She said we were fighting for our children. We felt God was in the process because what we were fighting for was something good to give to our children. We didn't want to die on this earth and leave our children in this kind of society. But we have turned around as black people and turned around, build a same and equally destructive.
It's called neocolonialism.
Yeah, I don't know all those terms, but I let you all say.
Well, all the term is that we had colonial masters.
Yes.
Now we have new colonial masters that look like us, but it's the same thing that's happening.
It's the same thing. That's all we've come. That's why the reconstruction of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas has to take place. And when people read that 92-page document on our website, it tells you, and see, being a servant leader, that's why I call myself, and believing in servant leadership means we are gradualist. We believe in the process to make the change. Not just 5 years. 5 years will not change. That's how come I'm still here. because I know 5 years wouldn't do it. So I've contested elections 6 times. So we are here. This young man feels the same kind of way. That's why he says, no, I'm still doing it. I used to say the same thing. I'm still young. I'm not going anywhere.
Do you think, I want to put this question to both of you. We've got a couple more minutes before we can go to break. Do you think that you've made any indent? I want to start with you, Kareem. Have you made any indent? Has, maybe not necessarily through the stubborn, stiff-neck approach to the men and women who serve one political organization or another for decades. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the next generation. Do you think that you've made an impact, an indent into their minds, into their psyche to say this is something that we got to be able to look forward to and be able to open our minds to a change that can happen in the country?
Well, let's say this, Howard. Today is a very pivotal day, okay? Because the conversation is about what? Independence leadership, Independence Bahamas, looking at how possible that it is. So even if I could use this as a measuring stick, I would say then, we have now begin the process of making an inroad. Okay?
I like this.
We have influenced our biggest fish. We have caught him. And how he has seen the vision. He may not have the finances, but he has his resources. He's the mic. He's the voice. He's the heirs to the nation. Could that work? So after tomorrow, you may be telling me, "Han, shall we get 10,000?" Because now the voice has now made the clear and the call that we should consider, if not an entire Bahamas this time, but perhaps some new faces that mix with some
I
independence.
really need to know who this person is y'all caught this big fish. But anyway, I'm not going to get you in business.
Howard Grant.
You need to stop it. Why you get me in this? I try to sit in neutrality.
See, Howard, listen, let's talk the poor man's struggle. I always tell you the poor man have two things to his advantage. He have the money, but he have the intellect and he have the plan. Now his job is to get that plan to the right person. To get to the right person. Now Howard may not have the money yet, but Howard have the connection and the touch to the money. Now what we say the money is, the vision. What's the vision? The vision is what we don't want, what we want. As we go back to the story, we're living in the Bahamas. When you dissect your country, you realize that you have more natural resources than many countries in the world in different jurisdictions. Okay? You generally find frequently people die from starvation in this country. So we cry out because we feel that it's not right to elect people to serve us and they're not doing their jobs. Even though Bahamians can do their job now, don't think Bahamians can kill themselves. They can eat. They have their money for their food, but they can see if you can do it for them.
That's what they're doing.
That's Bahamians. That's how we move. Because we always been taught to put something up. We always been a smart society. We always been thinkers. We've always been independent. We've always been put in position to have to get out of our circumstances.
Wow.
So we're resourceful. Our leaders have just closed our minds to know what our hands are used for.
That's heavy.
Okay. So we never knew that
It was never designed to build.
We just promote.
It was only
swimming.
designed for labor.
We just promoting swimming.
I mean, really?
We just promoting. We living in a nation around water. We're just promoting swimming.
That's what I told you. We've moved away from 1964, and then from an official standpoint, in 1973, we've done away with all of those elements that identify us and that attach their resilience to who we was as Bahamians, and got on to this kind of a nice, clean aspect.
It's a blink
you
of an
could wear
eye.
a suit to work.
But no, it's a blink of an eye. See, remember now, everything is a blink of an eye moment. Yesterday, wake up, and I have years of hardship. That wasn't a decision. That was something that happened over a choice, and everybody have this belief that I have to now break. That's the challenge. So my job is to provide what I can. That's the message and the proof to why it exists. Because if I have two people in the room, and both say they F and they PLP, I say, well, both come in. That's the good thing about being independent. Both come in.
I like this. Ali, tell me whether or not you believe in these last few minutes before I take this quick break. Tell me whether or not you believe you've made some sort of indentation over the course of our conversation. You were ecstatic about the fact that you've seen these people that your quote-unquote proverbial sons grow up and blossom in this kind of a way and moving in a particular direction. Do you believe, the Bahamas Constitution Party, do you believe that you've made an indentation that there could be reform, or you've created the foundation, the ground, and tilled the soil for this kind of a change to happen in our country going forward?
I do believe that the work and the tilling of the ground has been extremely tedious, but it has worked. And when I heard the preamble of the Constitution placed before the national anthem on ZNS, I began to smile. I say, whoa, we're getting somewhere. Because now it is spoken nationally every time that Constitution is done. I remember when, in 2012, when I told people that I want to be called a servant leader, I remember the argument that people said to me, nobody can call you no servant leader. It's the leader of a party. But I now have the press calling me servant leader. Mm-hmm. Everywhere I go, people call me servant leader. Mm-hmm. I mean, it has taken 10 years, well, probably much before that. But I'm saying that, when you are talking about transformational leadership is based on a model. So if you create the model for people to see, that's where we are going. And I believe that the transformational leadership or the transformational model is beginning to take shape, because when you have young men and young women like Kareem and others, I believe there are thousands out there, I've spoken to many of them, who can begin to say, this is what I believe, this is what I stand for, this is the quality of the standard of what we should be doing. Mm-hmm. I know that the work has begun to take hold and is cultivating.
I'm glad, and I believe that this was a timely conversation that we're having. I believe that this is a time for us to be able to recognize, just with sobriety, that's what I say, really have to be able to understand our own strengths, understand our position, and being able to, how do we realign ourselves in preparation to step into this new space? Things are happening from a global perspective. And he that have eyes, let him see. He that have ears, let him hear. That things are shifting from a global perspective. Now, you could play naive. You could be able to project this. You could be able to pull onto your science, all these particular things. But you've seen in a moment and in a twinkling of an eye that politics has taken a sharp turn in America very quickly. Very quickly. Donald Trump, you thought it was done for him. Let's just be clear. You thought it was done for him. He found himself in a successful position, right? Right after that, you say, well, he ain't gonna win. There was a debate. The debate changed everything, the course and language. After that, there was an attempted assassination. Now there's a Democrat, a woman running instead in the position of a Democrat. This is a lot that's happening. And if you don't take into consideration that magma, that Make America Great Again concept, let's just shoot straight about this, and where that originate from the Bible Belters, from people in South Carolina, from people in Alabama, from people in Kentucky and Louisiana, this concept and idea, if you don't pay attention to the fact of the matter that we're hoping that there's not a revival of a spirit that exists in there, a spirit of segregation. I just want to be decent as I say this. No one knows what's going to happen from an external standpoint. All you know is that you have to be prepared. And this is what I keep talking about. This is why I'm talking about independence. Are we as a nation prepared to be able to take this change? Wow. Guys, let's do this. Let me take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
The Foundation will be back right after this.
The Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation.
You try to rest, but roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers, for window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Everything is bigger and better at
Burger King Nassau. When you have a big appetite, BK has a royal deal for you. Get a flame grilled double Big King Jr. or an original chicken sandwich, plus 4 chicken nuggets, small fries, a drink, and a fresh baked cookie for only $9.95, including VAT. The royal deal was built for a big appetite, and at $9.95, including VAT, it's a steal of a deal. Go big and enjoy the BK flavors you love with the $9.95 royal deal at Burger King Nassau.
Now let me see now. 326 ETIC. Hello. This Epic Eckert Battery. This Miss Beulah from round the corner. I hear you're selling tires now on Wolf Road too.
Praise the Lord. It's about time. I live Fox Hill and Fire Trail. It's too far.
That ain't all. They open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sunday and holiday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My brother Sam, he's a hacker, and he could go right there and get fixed up.
Call us at 326 EPIC. We ship also to the Family Island.
Looking for a supplement which can be used daily without side effect? Give Ginseng Royal Jelly and Panax Ginseng Extract a try. They contain high active proteins and vitamins. They can prevent cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, significantly increase energy and stamina, restore libido, sharpen memory, balance endocrine system, and prevent cancer. Recognize the blue bottle as authenticity. For more information, call 557-1369. Ancient Chinese Secret.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company. The foundation, beautiful day, grateful to be in your company. We're just having conversation, and I think that for me, this is a lot of introspection. This is a very clear understanding that we got some work to do. We got some things to do in this country, and a lot of people may be indifferent about it. A lot of persons may be casual in their approach. Maybe you're satisfied. Maybe you eaten. Maybe you're taken care of. Maybe I'm the problem. This is one of the issues that we've seen most recently. I had this kind of a conversation. I watched somebody being able to be separated from their position. And I said to them, listen, everyone can see that there is an issue, but no one does anything about it. But as soon as you say something about it, the energy shifts towards you. Now you become the issues. It's easier for me to be able to rectify you as opposed to being able to deal with the real issues. And I think that that's what we're challenged with in our country. I think that politicians would default to the position of nepotism, default to the position of victimization, default to the position of segregation and separating you from opportunities as a part of the general populace and the community, as opposed to being able to rectify the real issues, rectify the issue of healthcare, rectify the issue of economic depression that we're going through, rectify the issue of education, social services, rectify these issues, as opposed to being able to look at me and people who call the radio station as the issue. Talk to me about that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with none other than servant leader, none other than S. Ali McIntosh, being able to talk to us all the way from Bahamas Constitution Party, and Kareem Hanshaw, the independent candidate all the way from Garden Hills. Now talk to me about that. Is that the issue? Is that the issues that we're dealing with? I want to hear a little bit more about the contrast. There are some issues that we're dealing with in this country. As we get to the nitty gritty, I know that these guys want to kind of call in today. Howard, I'd love to be able to participate. You know this is a pre-recording, don't fight me, right? But a lot of persons want to be able to hear about the real issues that are on the table. Our Prime Minister most recently has had, the sciatic surgery. He's back. He's been able to do some things. We see him with Kai Mills out of out of Abaco, being able to do some things. He's committed to these things. There's a lot of persons saying that the Prime Minister has called in and indicated that, when he returns, he's going to get to business. He's going to be able to do these things. A lot of persons want to give you this hope that the Prime Minister is now ready. He ready now.
3 years.
3 months. What you mean
3
3
years.
What 2 years? Boy, you think you a year to campaign? You think you a year to campaign?
A year for them to campaign.
Boy, What? And that year, whatever budget, in my view, whatever budget they set in that last year, that's a budget for them to take care of the people they haven't taken care of in 4 years. So the general populace may not see their government in a position being able to get some things done the way that we envision or desire.
Right.
So when we look at this, now you're saying that the Prime Minister is ready to go now. Our Prime Minister has indicated that he is hopeful about being able to sell the Grand Ducayan Hotel.
Right.
Man, that's peculiar to me. Right. That's peculiar to me. You understand? Because I have a beautiful car with no engine. And it's hard for me to convince people to purchase that. You understand? And I think that that's what we're doing with Grand Bahama. The engine is the economic stimulus that continues to be able to happen. If you don't have you don't have an airport prepared for people to come in.
I say pipe dreams.
What you doing? So who's this for? Who is this for? Our Prime Minister in this particular, but we've seen that the Deputy Prime Minister has taken on a very strong position. He's working Exuma. He's working Exuma and doing everything that he can do to ensure that Exuma is taken care of. And so I want to ask you, from your independent standpoint, the issues that we see around our country, that I don't believe lays at the foot of any PLP or FNM collectively. Governments over the course of 3 decades or so have been, incrementally lending to a mammoth issue that we face right now. Talk to me about some of the issues that you see that with a little bit of vision and elbow grease, we could be able to rectify right now.
Let me just put 2 precursors out, okay? So we can get a basis going. Before Obi died, I spent a year, my wife and I and my daughter, we spent a year speaking, talking with Obi, visiting him. So we took a liking to each other. So we invented a handshake, called it the brotherly love handshake. But one of the things that Obi did, he said, Anshel, I'm going to print out the speech from the throne from 1973. And when you read that, he said, everything that what you need to understand in that speech. Mm-hmm. I gave the speech I read it. I let my little girl, she was 10 maybe at the time, because she's 13 now, so maybe 11. I let her read it. I let my wife read it. We discussed it, kind of get an understanding of what they were trying to build going forward, leading to 1973. Okay? I gave the speech to COI, Maria Daxon. I don't know what she did with it. Obi's dead now, so I can't get another copy. I don't know. I wish I could find that copy. But if we could play that speech, and the nation could read that speech, they would then have an understanding of what's supposed to happen and why the vision.
1973.
1973 speech from the throne, January 1st.
I could get that.
1973. Okay. We got to realize that our politicians, they see independent movement is not about nation governance. Okay, that's the first thing you have to understand. When I decided to take on independence, it was about focusing on a specific duty, which is being a member of parliament for a constituency, focusing on whatever issues and needs and challenges that those constituents have. People will say, well, how come you think you can be effective as one person? I said to them, but if the constituency chooses me, I'm not one person anymore. I'm one plus whatever amount of persons living in the constituency.
Have we been lied to with the concept that as an independent,
no, we've not.
Man, you ain't got no money, man. You can't get nothing from me.
It's not lied to. We've not been educated. Remember now, pre-party foundation was independent men who come together and ran their constituency. Okay, when you check the precursor on the economy at the time, you would realize that they were businessmen, so they just knew what to do. There was the shift. Okay, here comes this group of black men, led by some elders, who say, you know what, we want to sit in them seats. So let's take advantage, let's pull the people together, because we know we have more black people than white people who are allowed to vote. So we could get, and this is based on results, on what I see is, okay, let's see if we could get in that message. So that message start to show the difference in color and how we could come together as one voice and now become the majority rule, and now we take governance, 1967, 1968. Now you have Fox, okay, the independent who crossed over, gave them the government. Now PLP became government. So then there's now the first premier. Now 5 years later, we in 1973, independence. Okay. They didn't stop they then continued to move in that regard in terms of segregation. They didn't live up to what they said they wanted to. And then when you check history, it was our own neo-colonialism. It was Finland who put the tariffs on the farmers. If you do the history. So right then, it was my own who put me on the ground for those who import. Okay, so that was the Bahamianization publicly, but privately, the deal under the table. And you can't empower your people. You'll hire so much. But there's a structure that we have to maintain when you call about the capitalism of the system. When you're looking at the status quo and the power structure and how the power is supposed to still exist. The only thing happening is the white boys only just invited a few black people in because they was able to grab their color together and grab power. So they let them live with them, but they, as far as they can go, because now you have Frankie Wilson, those doing the same thing in terms of the energy. Only them could sell fuel. No one could get solar.
Well, I think that's sort of the agitation that we've heard locally. But, one of the things that you started off this thing with, and I think it's peculiar that you said it, the relationship that you forged with Obi Wolfskamp prior to his passing, untimely passing, by being able to say that you forged a handshake with him, that you forged a liking, that you gravitated towards him. It put a lot of things in perspective in how the country runs. For me, that I've heard people say, if they like you, they will lie for you. If they don't like you, they will lie on you. And it says to me that relationships and fraternity is the only thing, that's the economic engine in this country. Relationships and fraternity. Right. Your relationship and your close proximity to the people and your organization. Right. Outside of whatever formality is. And I'm not saying anything specifically about you and Obi's relationship. I'm simply saying that this is the concept that has separated a great deal of people from getting to their desires, getting to their aspirations, getting to this position. The Free National Movement came in and started to talk about how they're cutting all the red tape and how they're going to be able to ensure that the ease of doing business, that we're going to be able to climb this road. And then simultaneously, they start to be able to tax every every one of the departments. They cut the finances to those departments by 10% when Peter Turnquest was the Deputy Prime Minister, that we saw these particular things. We keep trying to understand if we're going to move forward, we need all elements and all avenues being able to move forward with us, as opposed to being able to this push and pull. It's kind of a tug of war.
Could I say something?
Go ahead.
If I may interject, that there is a playbook that is being used by these politicians, okay? And this playbook works out. Take it from someone who's been in public life for 37 years at least. I was people do not know, but I was a reporter for the Nassau Herald, which is a PLP newspaper, 1986, 87. So I was introduced to politics or national life as a political reporter at the House of Assembly. So I'm thrust into public life, meeting all of these cabinet ministers, including Sir Lyndon Pindling, to see exactly what happens in the nation. And so for the last 37 years, I am watching this playbook that every single government, every administration plays it out. And you know how they play it out? They come to office, they get their share first, obviously, in that first year, in that second year. By the third year, they now introduce to you some of the things that you need, the people want, and they tell you it will be done by the next 4 years into the fifth year. If you was thinking, you would realize they do this. How many times have they told you? How many governments have told you that we're going to sell Lucayan? I heard even with the BEC deal, the minister saying that the independent providers, power providers, won't be able to come online for another 18 months into another 24 months, which is right into election. So all of a sudden now this big, wonderful thing is happening because they're doing it. This is a playbook. Take it from Ali McIntosh, who has spent the last 37 years watching this playbook. Okay? This is a game they're playing on us. Because when they come to office, they get what they want quickly. Quickly get what they want, make sure handle their family and friends and lovers and contracts and all of that stuff. And then they tell you at the third year, we're getting to what you want. And what do you
Take
want?
another 2 years.
Yeah, what you want is
But if
going
you
to
put
take
me
at
back in,
least...
you're straight for sure.
You're straight for
Right.
sure. And you do it...
If you put me back in.
Yeah. But the Bahamian people has been very kind of wise that they keep putting the other fella back in who just told you that. And they duped you. What the man said? Bamboozle. It wasn't you who was talking about bamboozle.
No, Howard Johnson.
Howard Johnson. So they go back to the next. So that's why we've been changing government, because people say, well, this don't make no sense. So they go back to the FNM, and then they go back to the PLP, and then they go back to the FNM. And now Brave is telling us 3 years out that I going to get you what you need. But it's going to take me another
But
18 months.
he did that with the by-election.
So we have to, the Bahamian people have to realize, we have to move away from that two sides of the triangle and go with the foundation.
Could I just add
The
one point?
foundation is
to what
going
you
to get
said,
it done.
Ali, and then I can let you finish. See, what the main people never did was read the Parliamentary Election Act. There's a section in the act that is called offense. It talks about the do's and don'ts of the voters, which is then deemed, if they do this or they don't do this, this is deemed an offense against the law. It talks about parliamentarians or candidates should not even consider going into the election if they know they're not qualified. So first and foremost,
But you have to be
you
honorable
and
for
yourself have to know that you ain't qualified.
But that requires honorability.
Okay.
You only just get that as a cloak when you step into
Now, the
parliament.
third section tells you about the relationship between the candidates, the party, the candidates, and the voters. All this promise to get this when they get in power, all this don't vote for that one talk, all that is against the law. But they don't educate the Bahamian people. And then we as a nation, we don't go and look for these things to read, to empower ourselves. And so people like yourselves, Ali McIntosh, we have to encourage people to read. It's just a small offense, 2 pages, and it'll show them everything. And then when they retrospect or they go back in their mind about how they kind of approach them during the election, they realize, like, wow, that was against the law.
Yeah, don't forget the bear and the chicken wings.
It says that in the law.
Some of them,
That's
Bear,
against the
I
law.
want a Guinness.
All that's against the paraphernalia out by the polling stations. All that's against the law. Having this big team in the jungle rush out trying to sway votes. All that's against the law. Not knowing who the campaign finances is. All that's against the law. It's in the act. It's in the Parliamentary Election Act. As reference, if you read the Constitution, references the Parliamentary Election Act.
So what are your thoughts, before I take this quick break, what are your thoughts, both of you, about campaign finance reform that the Free National Movement should have done, that the Free National Movement under the AG indicated that they would move towards this particular thing, but they did not do, right? And then we see even the Freedom of Information Act come to the forefront, and the one that they give us ain't got no teeth to talk about, but there's a desire to be able to see something else. And then the leadership of the Progressive Liberal Party and the chairman indicate that we have a philosophical difference from the Free National Movement as it relates to the Freedom of Information Act. And that's Fred Mitchell being able to take on to that. So let me know your thoughts on that.
When we did the last piece, I thought to go right to that matter of the campaign funding and the need for reform. Would you believe that in 2024, let's revert to 2023, that we are creating and advising civil society, advising the government regarding the NPO bill, which is public non-government organization. Do you believe that they have still not committed to put any kind of reform in that bill for political contributions? So both government is not committed to any kind of reform regarding public campaign and reform because they do not wish for their contributors to be not only identified, but to be held accountable. Because a lot of what happens is because the reason why we've come away from a lot of things that we see happening under the table, as you're saying, is because those people who have contributed to the campaign require certain things. Listen, boy, this is my industry, and I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. And those things are happening, and that's why these politicians who are they're working along with their contributors. I'm looking for the other word. Their contributors and donors for giving them what they need. And that's why a lot of the contributors here, they give to both the PLP and the FNM because they know they are fixing any event.
Wow. Well, this is strong stuff. We had a very, very strong conversation and being able to talk about these things. Now, when we get back, because I got to take this break, when we get back, I want to be able to give both of you 5 minutes each to talk about your vision. When we get back, I want to be able to give you an opportunity to talk about your vision independently, individually, about how we can be able to reform and move forward. How do you capture these persons, put your information out there? When we get back, we're going to be able to hear from none other than Ali McIntosh and Kareem Hancho sitting in studio with us. Guys, quick commercial break. Going to be right back after this.
The Foundation will be back right after this.
The foundation. The foundation.
Do you have uncontrollable debt? Are you ready to make that move to Fidelity for a stress-free future? These loans have a built-in savings plan that pays you unbeatable interest. Ask about our debt consolidation loans today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
The Grand Bahama News is available every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian. You can buy your local paper at Freeport Convenience Stores, Western Bakery, DeGregory's Fine Foods, and Bellevue Gifts. Now is the time to reach your Grand Bahama market with affordable packages, including print and digital. Call GB News sales representative Kavandre at 822-6717 or message him on WhatsApp for ad rates. Classified ads are now available every Tuesday as well. Keep up with everything Grand Bahamian every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian.
Great news! Ron's Electric Motors' new location on Cowpen Road, right next to Island Luck, is open Saturdays and Sundays. So for those needing repairs on electric motors, generators, welding machines, water pumps, battery chargers, electric lifts, transformers, and power tools, Ron's Cowpen Road location can have you up and running on weekends. Don't forget, you can still visit Ron's Electric Motors on Wolf Road and Claridge Road, and now Ron's new location on Cowpen Road. Dial 356-0249 or 323-5267.
Looking for a supplement which can be used daily without side effect? Give Ginseng Royal Jelly and Panax Ginseng Extract a try. They contain high active proteins and vitamins. They can prevent cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, significantly increase energy and stamina, restore libido, sharpen memory, balance endocrine system, and prevent cancer. Recognize the blue bottle as authenticity. For more information, call 557-1369. Ancient Chinese Secret.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, the foundation here, being able to have a very sobering conversation about being able to be sober and moving ourselves in the direction that we're supposed to. I am grateful for an opportunity to be able to have this kind of a conversation with you. I am truly grateful to be able to chop these things down and talk with it. Like I said, I have in the studio with me none other than S. Ali McIntosh. She's an elder and definitely the leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party for the past 25 years. She's committed herself, her life, her work, and even 10 years prior to that, she's been a part of the politics. You see me just putting her timeline together, trying to set this thing up, right? But I'm just grateful for the opportunity to kind of have this kind of a conversation with you. And I'm sitting here with none other than Kareem Hancho and being able to talk to us about his consistent commitment to ensuring that he represents his faith and his conviction in Guardian. He's done this over the past two election cycles. Kareem, I can start this with you. I want to start this with you. What do you say to those young persons who are indifferent, who are undecided? What do you say to those persons who have identified the fact that, like the DNA would coin, two sides of the same coin? Like Ali has identified that these two sides of the pyramid is neglecting the idea of the foundation. What do you say to those persons who are looking for a position to get right and move the country forward? How do you pull them in and attract them with what you have?
Well, for once, at 41, Mr. Grant, I recognized that I didn't have the luxury of what I am to a lot of the youths today. I had to become that for myself because of the gap. I recognized what was missing, and I wanted to become that. So now representation, and they have that support. You understand? Most of the time I had to learn on my own because at the end of the day, I was going against the grain. At the end of the day, and so when I pursued solar, I would say to them, as I say to any person, at the end of the day, My job is to provide, because I can't blame no youth for what they're going through. And I say sorry to everyone 41 and under. I have to apologize to them because we come up as children thinking that life is supposed to be a certain way. And then when we grow up and we became adults, and now we realize that all that changes overnight, and now you stop trying to fix, or you are now suffering in a circumstance or situation that you didn't even put yourself in or did not know control over. But because of our leaders' decisions and the adults at the time telling them that it would hurt the future, we can see that was the outcome. And so for me, I have to let them know why I fight, and I fight so that could change. I fight so they could be 30 millionaires, owning their own business, building their Bahamas. You understand? Like persons who they don't have to not come and go and stay away. They could come home when they finish their university levels, and they could start their own business. We can get them as consultants, start their practices, help to empower and educate the nation. Okay? Then from there, that's inspiration, because now young people like me, well, listen, man, you know, we have a government or society who believes that you shouldn't give a 20-year-old money, 100,000, 200,000. Why? Because at the end of the day, well, like I said, I had to learn. So I had to make my own money to spend my own money. But I recognize in order for us to grow, you have to go through the growing pains. And so you have to put your youths in position to understand value of money and how to use money. And if any time for them to fail, it could be now, because as a government, you create support systems. We have enough information, Mr. Grant, to know what we don't have to do or what we could do differently. Okay? Ali talks about our namesake. My name is Kareem Abdul Ali Hanchal. So we connect on the Ali, Kareem Abdul Ali. When you Google North America, Americans with disposable income of $1 million or more, right? When you look at the number, we're talking about who are free $1 million they give out to something, whether they get it back or not. That number. It's like almost 10 to 1. 10 millionaires to every 1 Bahamian. But we have a financial shortage, just like the ocean, just like the agriculture, just like the marine life, just like everything around us. We have an abundance of sun. Just like that, we have the abundance of millionaires, investors, who are government, which have investment authority, through they have a department for that, has yet to connect you, me, Ali, anyone with an investor, because we have ideas. Every Bahamian could come up with an idea if they know they have access to some money to get the idea going. Okay, so when you talk about why Bahamians are put in this position to
But this has to do with the eating, though. You know, when you're famished and you're in a position where the only thing that your body is saying to you is that we have to survive, creativity ain't got nothing to do with that. Creativity, this idea of the prospect for utopia and building these things ain't got nothing to do with that. The Bahamas has been in a survival mode for a very long time.
But I will tell you what survival does. See, Howard, when you have a choice between life or death, I can share my experience. I have a child, she's 13, she's diabetic. She have to eat 4 times a day, 3 times a day full meal, twice a day snacks. Okay? When she goes low, she have to have juices, she have to have fruits, she have to have the right food. Okay. My back against the wall, Howard. You think I can be creative? You best be creative. If this economy collapse right now, you'd be surprised who can fish. Who have it in them? See, God have to put us in a position for things to happen, for the best to come out